I would argue cashmere isn't as difficult as some make it out to be. It could be as hard or as easy as you want to make it, but there are some things that you do need to know. I do have quite an extensive cashmere collection, so today I wanted to share with you an ultimate guide from beginning to end on how to care for your cashmere. And a real quick disclaimer, these are things that I actually do with my own cashmere, and I still have my very first cashmere sweater that I ever bought. I will be giving you my tips and walking you through exactly what I do with my cashmere. Best practices that I do have to recommend for you are to follow the instructions on the garment or the brand's recommendations. But if you're interested to see what I do with my cashmere, we will be going over cleaning, care, storage, pest prevention, then just keep watching. Okay, I think one of the hardest things for me, or I think one of the most scary things when I was first new to cashmere, was the cleaning process. So I am going to walk you through it, be as detailed as I can. If I left anything out, be sure to ask any questions down below, and let's get into it.
The first question you're probably wondering is, how often should I wash my cashmere? And the answer is as little as possible. You should find with these tips that I give you throughout the video that you actually don't need to actually wash it quite that often, but we will go over those tips a little later in the video. The next question you may be wondering is, what is the best way to clean my cashmere? And today I want to share with you 5 ways to clean your cashmere. Cleaning method number 1 is to utilize the sun and the wind. Oftentimes, just hanging your cashmere out in the sunlight and in the wind, in the fresh air for just a few hours can really freshen it up, let go of a lot of odors, and really revive it. But you don't want to leave it in direct sunlight for too long.
The next thing you can try to do is steam the garment. So steaming it also freshens it up. I actually like to do this to all my brand new cashmere because it's just been in a factory and shipped and this and that. And so I like to give it a quick steam. It gets out any wrinkles that it got along the shipping process, and also kind of sanitizes it and makes it ready to wear. The third option you do have is to opt for dry cleaning. So if you don't want to do anything to your cashmere pieces and you just want to have them dry cleaned every now and then, you can absolutely do that. I don't like dry cleaning because of the chemicals that they use, and it's pretty costly, and really it is easy to, care for your cashmere at home. Okay, and now on to cleaning method number 4, and that is machine washing. Yes, you can machine wash your cashmere if you want to. It would be at your risk, but it is something that I do, and I'll show you my process on how I do that. Here's some other little cute containers I picked up. Here are the detergents that I do recommend, and I have quite a few. Because I like to kind of switch it up with different pieces in no particular order. I like all of these, and of course I'll link them down below as well. They're all just real gentle, and they're for cashmere, but they all have a little bit of a different scent, but essentially all are doing the same thing. So tip number 1 in machine washing is to use laundering bags. So these are, the bags that you would put any delicates in, and so I think cashmere is a delicate, and so I definitely think if you are putting it in the washing machine, you should do that. Now, since mine have the issues more on the outside, they're not really dirty because of sweat, more makeup, I do not turn mine inside out, and I did put all like colors. I wouldn't mix colors, so I just zip them up in the big bag, and everything of the same. You don't want to overfill it, but just put them all in there, and then pick the detergent that you would like to use. I like to just use a tablespoon. I think that's all you need for just a couple garments. You don't really need a whole lot, and that generally will do it. Now, if you have a newer washing machine, although mine's not that new, but it does have a lot of options. You might have a wool cycle or a delicate cycle. And I don't know that much about washing machines, but that amount of time is, I feel, too much. So you don't want your cashmere wet too long. So I actually prefer to use the quick wash. That is only a 25-minute cycle. That is my shortest cycle. And then I will just move the temperature down to cold. So you could do tap cold or cold. I don't really know how much the temperature difference is, but either is fine. And then you could do a high or medium spin. You do want it spinned out pretty good and pretty quick. And then I always do a light soil level because they're really not that dirty and it doesn't need it. All right, and just 25 minutes later, the whole process is done. Couldn't be easier. This is a set it and forget it method. Well, don't forget it too long. It is good to get them out and laid out pretty quickly. So they, as you can see, they are clean, they are fluffy, not dripping wet, and just this, I love doing this, and I haven't had any issues with it, like I said. And it's really nice too for larger pieces like this duster or like a really heavy knit that would take a lot longer to air dry, which I have hand washed all of these too. So both ways work just lovely. And then after I'm done with the mesh bag, I will just hang it up for a little bit to dry before I fold it up and put it away. And since these pieces are not soaking wet or real wet, I'll just lay a towel down and hang them over the banister. And I find after a day, I just leave them there, and I come back, they're dry. You can also utilize anything that you can get some airflow to the piece. So I like using empty hampers. You can lay it over the top if it's a larger piece, or over the side, just depending. That gives it some airflow. And it doesn't stretch it out. It's laid nice. I haven't had any issues with stretching out using these methods myself. And on to hand washing. I would say the most popular and maybe the one you're most interested in. So first step is to clean the basin that you're going to be using. So whether I do have a sink in my laundry room, but if you're using, your bathroom sink or your kitchen sink, you certainly want to make sure it's clean because you don't want to get your pieces dirty from anything that would be in the sink. So quick scrub is a good way to start, and we will be cleaning this one with makeup on it, and that I find does need a little more attention sometimes to get that kind of stain out. So you do want to use cold or cool water, and then just go ahead and plug up the sink. I like to still use just a tablespoon of detergent. Pretty much I usually always do that. I would say probably 3 garments is the most that I'd launder, but even when I just do 1, that's all I'll need. And I find that freshens it up good and will loosen up any dirt or stains that the piece does have on it. So I just let the sink fill up a little bit, just enough to cover the piece a bit, and then you just press it down in there. And you don't want to pull pieces, so when I do move it around, I'm really grabbing a lot of the piece, the material, so that I can really just move it around. And then I'll let it sit for just a couple minutes while I go get my drying rack out. So these pieces are going to be a little more wet, so I do have this drying rack. I only have 1, but you can buy multiples of them, and they do stack up. I love this because it just stores away so easy. It's real thin, it folds flat, and then you just put the little feet up, and this is a good way to lay your pieces out real flat and get them just how you like them if you're very particular about that process. And you can see a sweater will fit on there very nicely. And so when I come back to it, I just keep on dunking it I like dunking it, kind of floats up and you press it down, agitate it, kind of just moving it back and forth, almost kind of like how a washing machine would, but way gentler. Swish it around, go one way and then go the other way. I also do like to flip it and just kind of move it all, but you don't want to pinch pieces and pull. So when I am grabbing it or moving it, I'm grabbing a big chunk of the garment. Then if you do have a stain, like I had a makeup stain in the neckline of this, you do want to just work it with your fingers. So this does take patience and basically just keep rubbing it. Sometimes I will put a little bit of detergent on my fingers and work that through as well, depending if it's, you know, a tough stain to get out. But really, you know, just kind of keep dunking it in the water, keep rubbing it, and then just keep hand washing, moving everything around, and eventually it will let go. It is a natural fiber, so it just might take a little time, but it will come out. And refill the sink with some fresh water. Again, you're gonna wanna just fill it above, you know, just enough with cool water to cover the garment. And then I kind of just repeat almost the same way that I wash it. I'll do a lot of dunking because the piece kind of floats up, and then you just keep pressing it down, spin it around, and I really feel this gets all of the soap out, and then kind of still keeps cleaning it a little bit as well. But it's pretty quick to hand wash, so if you just have one piece, this is just a great way to do it. Now you don't want to wring the piece out, as in twist it, but what I do is kind of press. So I put it in a little ball and I just press it. I'm not real strong, so I'm actually not really squishing it, but I do get a lot of the water out, and that process works pretty good. And as you can see, it's all light and fluffy and not soaking wet, so that first step gets a lot of the water out. But this next step is where really we get a lot of the water. So you can lay out a towel. I have this cabinet area where I can do it, but you can lay it out on, you know, your bed or on the floor. I will tell you, this towel is very wet after this process, so you might not want to do this on your couch or maybe on your bed if you're going to be laying there, because this towel gets very, very wet. So I just fold it over and start rolling it, kind of sleeping bag rolling it or burrito rolling it, actually as tight as I can. So I kind of try to do it as tight as I can and have it all burritoed up, and then I just press with all my body weight and turn, and press with all my body weight and turn, and I'll do that 3 times, and I think that does a really good job. I found if you have a good bath towel and just one piece in there, you can't really tell here, but this towel is like soaking wet now, and it was dry. So this process does get a lot of the water out, and as you can see, the sweater is light and fluffy. And then I just grab the drying rack that we took out just a bit ago, and you can just lay your piece on there. And I'll usually leave it for a day or 2. It doesn't take that long. I just like to make sure it's dry, and I never am going to be needing this right away, and I definitely want to make sure that it's all the way dry. So I'll usually just lay it out and then check on it here and there, and then go to the next steps. You can smooth out any big wrinkles, but I find that you always do need to steam regardless when you are after a wash. But depending on how particular you are, you can spend a little more time on that process. And then I did want to mention that I do like to go from lightest to darkest. So I will do all my, you know, lighter colored cashmeres first, and then if you have any, you know, kind of pastels or anything like that, and then do dark ones later, navy and black. So this is my black cashmere sweater dress, and I just wanted to show you on here. I did opt to use the cap fill method on what they recommend, and I was looking at the camera and not where I was pouring, so I missed the entire sink and got it on the faucet. And then this is a dress, so it is a little bit of a bigger piece, a little bit more water in here, but same process. You know, I just dunk it and swirl it and flip it and all of those things. kind of just moving it, but not pulling. I actually haven't had any issues with kind of distorting the shape or anything, because I'm pretty gentle with it, just kind of keeping it all together. And then finish the process the same as the shirt, but I wanted to show you that I do use this drying rack for dresses too. So that it obviously is gonna hang off the edges because it's a dress and it's way longer, but I have it on the cabinet there, and the drop isn't enough to cause any kind of pulling or anything like that, and it dries just lovely. Okay, next let's go over care. So all cashmere sweaters pill, which is getting the little fuzz balls on them. It doesn't matter what brand it is, eventually that will happen. It is the nature of the material that will happen. And it generally is gonna happen in rubbing areas faster. So in the armpits, sometimes on the inside if it's real tight on your body, or if you wear jackets a lot over it, then the whole thing will peel a lot more. There are several tools to combat the pilling. There's dual head, single head. Also, I like to have a lint brush and lint roller on hand for the darker colors, because it does seem like lint and hair like to get weaved into, especially my black cashmere. And I just wanted to go a little more in depth with de-pilling. They also do have a comb. I haven't ever used that because, you know, I just went for the electric ones. I figured they were better. And it already takes a little while with an electric one, and especially even a dual head, which is the fastest, and it still is going to take some patience. So you just want to go in circular motions. I'll go one way and then the other way, sometimes up and down, and different pressures. You kind of just get to it, and when the little trash can fills up, you just empty that out. I do like to periodically clean out the heads as well, and then when it needs a charging, this is rechargeable. So this is a really great device. I actually picked this up last year and have been really loving it. And then say you go to dinner and you spill a little food on your cashmere sweater, which happens to me quite often. And so I love these little microfiber washcloths. These are great because, well, cute colors, but also they're really small. You just wet it, and you can usually spot treat the area. So you get a little whatever right there, just kind of get some water and rub lightly. You don't want to mess up kind of the fluff and the fur and the cashmere. And also if you need, if it's a stain, like maybe you have some red sauce of some type in there, I would probably get some detergent on my fingers and work that under the water pretty quickly, because you don't want that to set in, but you don't need to wash the entire garment for something like that. When I first get my cashmere, I also steam it. One, it's gonna steam out the lines, any lines that it has from the shipping process. And then since it's been in the factory, I don't know who's handled it. This is actually a good way to sanitize it as well. So the hot steam from the steamer is going to not only pep it up, spruce it up, and sanitize it, but also get those lines out. And the thing that I do the most is actually just hang them up. Hang them up inside or outside. I actually have my cashmere hung all year round. I do put away some of my thicker ones or ones that look a little more wintry in the late spring, but a lot of my cashmere I wear all year round, and I like them hung up because they're always airing out. So they're not folded up and in a drawer where they can just kind of grow mildew and things like that, because cashmere does like to breathe. Another thing, say you're wearing it and the day is a little bit warmer than you anticipated, or you got warmer and maybe sweaty, maybe a little smelly. All you have to do is put the cashmere on a hanger and hang it outside. So in your backyard, on your front porch, on your balcony, somewhere where it can get some fresh air. If you can get a little sunlight on it too, I think that helps disinfect it. So both of those are a good way to kind of freshen it up. And since it is, you know, a fur, that will let go of the smells and kind of refresh it really quick. As I mentioned, I do like to hang my cashmere, and I do hang it regular, but if I have a piece that is feeling a little more gentle, or is a weight that I could feel is pulling, because I can hang up some of my thick ones. There's just a couple where I can tell that the edge is kind of digging in. I haven't ever had it make that mark. I know the mark that people are talking about with some materials. I haven't ever had that happen with these Amazon Basic hangers that I use. But if you are afraid of that, I would suggest draping it over the hanger in any manner that you like. It's still gonna be able to air out, and then you don't have that pulling problem. And so that is another option as well. Which also leads me into storage. So this is how I store my cashmere most of the time, but for the larger pieces, or the pieces I'm not gonna wear in the warmer months, let me show you my options for those. All right, the first one I wanted to share with you are these Hayden Hill 100% organic cotton storage containers. And these are really great because they're like moldable. So if you have your bed really close to the ground, or you want to stack these up in a closet or in a shelf, and you can't be constricted by a framed one, this is a great option. And I love that you can wash these. So if it does get dusty, I just throw them in the wash, and I don't iron them because it's just a storage item. And then I usually wash them at the beginning of the season before I'm gonna store everything. And these are great. So you can fit a lot more items in here than I have. It does have a little window on the side, so when you have them all stacked up, you can see what's inside. And the one thing I will warn is don't wash them with the leather strap on like I did, because it will stain it. It doesn't really matter, but these easily pop on and off. It's kind of more for decoration, but they're really cute, and I washed mine when I got them with that, and so it kind of discolored it, but they're still absolutely functional, and I really, really like these. And if you prefer a more structured look, I also have a couple of these, which I really like as well. And they are kind of framed in the inside, which is nice. And they're a canvas material, but they have the netting to let it breathe. And so both of these solutions are to protect it from pests, and also let airflow through, because the cashmere needs the airflow. So you do not want to store all your cashmere in a plastic bin or something like that. And then the next thing I wanted to share with you are these hanging bag protectors. So I do have the Hayden Hill, again, they're 100% organic cotton, so real breathable, and of course machine washable. I usually just, like I said, run them through the wash on whites and then let them air dry before I store everything away. But these are great to hang your wool coats, of course all your cashmere, and you can fit more than one garment in there. So depending on your hanger that you're using and what you're hanging in there, you can fit quite a few, and it's a great length. And then some other ones that I picked up are some cotton ones I picked up on Amazon, and these are really great. They're a little shorter. These are also cotton, and these ones came with some cedar blocks that you can utilize as well. So it was nice. These came with cedar blocks, so you don't have to buy them separately, and that we'll go into during the pest overview. All right, next up, moth prevention. Now, there is no silver bullet. So I implement a few different tactics to try to keep them away. Where I live, it isn't a problem, but I have seen horror stories, and I have quite a collection, so I would like to keep it away from the moths. So I implement a few different solutions that I wanted to go over with you. Now, the I guess an old-fashioned one, but a tried and true is cedar wood. And it does lose its fragrance, which is the smell that will keep the moths away. So you do need to oil it. I usually will sand it and oil it just once a year. And after I oil it, I actually just let it sit out for a couple days while the oil really gets absorbed into the wood. And then when I go to use it, I won't put it directly on the fabric, on the clothes. I'll usually use some type of washcloth as a barrier, and I find that's good. You can also hang these on the hangers, so I'll put a few of them in the area where all my cashmere is, or near. So I actually have a lot of these satchels with the cedar wood kind of around in my closet, and I just like to have them around just in case I want to do all the things to try to keep the moths away. Something else that is crucial is having a moth trap, and these are pretty discreet. They actually hang in your closet so that, you know, they're not out in the open, but these are important because if you ever see a moth in there, then you have a problem and you need to deal with it quick then, because that means there's more and they will start multiplying. So this is almost more of a indicator to let me know, because what you don't want is an infestation to happen and then you find out. But if you have these and you ever see one in there, then you need to get on it ASAP. Some other things that do protect are the storage solutions. So these cotton garment bags, like I said, do let the garment breathe, but do protect it from the moths as well, because the moth, once it's in there, it's gonna lay its eggs, and it's really the larvae that is the issue. I have heard that moth balls work, but they're also really toxic and have a terrible smell. I've personally never used them, but that is an option out there as well. Another way to prevent moths is moving your garments around pretty often. So you don't want to have, you know, your 5 cashmere sweaters in the back of your closet just hanging there all summer long, not being used. So if you're not using them, you're not going through, taking things out, putting things back, just moving it around periodically, then you are going to want to store it properly so that a moth doesn't find its home in one of your favorite cashmere sweaters. So if you do have a concern, if you did see a moth, what I would suggest doing is, if it's hot, if it's in the summertime or in a hot month, you could try leaving it outside in really hot weather, or steaming it. Steaming it really good could kill the larvae or the eggs. Another option is dry cleaning it as well. The chemicals that the dry cleaners use certainly will kill any larvae that are on there. And when all else fails, wash the garment so that the larvae doesn't multiply anymore. All right, that was my how to care for cashmere guide. Hopefully it was helpful. While there are things that you do need to know about cashmere, I don't think it's a high maintenance thing. I have a lot of sweaters. I wear them daily. It is just another fabric, and you just have to know how to take care of it. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, please consider giving it a like so that YouTube will press it out to more people that it will potentially help. I wanted to thank you so much for dropping in and spending some of your time with me. I really do appreciate it. I hope that you have a really great day, and I hope to see you in the next one.